As we do this, I feel like one day we're going to need a producer, right? I'm going to say hello to everybody. We don't have any music. We don't have any theme song. We don't have any sponsors of any kind. I will. Maybe I'll say Yoda is our sponsor, right? Because he's there watching. Queen of England is also here. Um, you know,
Nice.
she dances
The
when the
Queen,
sun's out. Nothing
don't
as
we
regal
all?
as Queen Elizabeth II dancing. Um, Anyways, so hello. This is our first real podcast. Um, Today we're going to not talk about bobbleheads and dancing toys, but what we're going to talk about is, well, technical things. And both Antoine and I are going to try and give you guys a quick rundown of something we like or interested in or whatever today. So with that, um, anything you want to say, Antoine, before we do something, and I'll go first to make you feel better.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about how you guys doing, Antoine, by the way. I was thinking about PowerShell. Like, where did they come up with this? Where did they come up with PowerShell? The name, at least. But I guess I can go ahead and read the history on that another time. So, yeah, let's get to it. I'm excited. PowerShell. I'm super passionate about PowerShell. I've been learning it for like the last 5 years, and it's like almost every day I learn something new about PowerShell and a different way to implement it, and in so many ways. So it's I have fun with it. I can't lie about that. So
I mean, we're all here listening to this. We're excited about this because we're on it, and the people that are subscribing and doing this are on it too, right? They're into it. Um, as I tell people when they ask me about stuff like this, I point out PowerShell. You know, well, Microsoft is a jobs creator platform. They leave giant gaping holes, but they gave us PowerShell to help fill those holes. That could be taken the
absolutely.
wrong way. Um,
I think
um,
it definitely does help fill some gaps and make life a little easier when you can string together some commands to stop having to manually do something every single time a certain situation happens.
yeah,
So I definitely am very thankful for that in a lot of different aspects for sure.
and it's also great for pranking because usually the people you're pranking have no idea what's going on. Um, I used to manage a team, and one of the things to kind of gauge something about the new team member is I would make pop-ups come up on their screens, um, just to kind of gauge their reactions and responses, and kind of help them figure out, hey, how did this happen and why did this happen? Um, it was good fun. Um, I enjoyed it, and I think everybody who was a victim of the prank got a good laugh out of it too, and got to learn something new, right? I utilized some obviously PowerShell, but also some old systems within Windows to make that prank look legit.
Yeah, I think you got me once. What it made me panic a little bit. I had to talk to security. I'm like, hey, I promise I wasn't watching anything strange, but this pop up showed up, and yeah, I don't
I had
know. I
one
think it was
guy
about
who there was one guy who used to be on the team who spent, gosh, 3 days like doing scans with multiple pieces of um, antivirus, anti-malware um, tools to kind of figure out what was going on, what was making these pop-ups happen. Even better, I had it come up in Russian for him so that eh, that would make him even more scared. Um, and finally, it took him 4 days to come and say something like, "Hey, something's going on," which was a little concerning that it took 4 days to like admit that something was going on his machine. Um,
Yeah,
but
I kind of almost panicked. I'm like, no, I can't have this like unknown situation on my computer happening right now. I need to talk to somebody.
I mean, this is
But
this is this is something like people will be like, you shouldn't prank your coworkers like that. I mean, this was something minor. This was something simple, but it also is a door to understanding one, how to look through event logs of what's going on. Because if you looked at event logs, you would have seen um, at the exact time these things are popping up that there was a connection being made by um, by an account, right? You see those that login. Um, you may not see the actual command. That depends on how your Windows environment's configured for logging events, because Windows logs a lot, but some things aren't completely logged. But as soon as you see, hey, this login from this location, you pretty much can say, ah, I know who's doing this. I know what's going on. But I will freely admit, like on any desktop team, a lot of people on those teams are very slow to go, let me look at the logs and see what's going on. Um, but that was something I tried to instill in people's like, look at the logs, right? If you want to know what's going on, look at the logs. Uh, it,
that's my favorite brand of pain right there. Looking at the logs in PowerShell. Uh, you know, I guess it takes a special kind of person to do something like that. But you know, in my defense, I'm usually, you know, I like to have a PowerShell window open, and if I want to see what's going on real quick, that's like one of the fastest ways. I can just run a quick command, and I can see, you know, what's happening. I can filter down the time, and then it feels like the event log viewer.
hmm
It's like it slows down when you're trying to, you know, jump
Oh
in
yeah.
between logs and look. But
hmm
with PowerShell, I can quickly, you know, generate the logs right there in the console. In addition to that, I can take the index of a specific event and I can put it in a variable, and then I can read what that message is. I can have what time this event happened. You know, that's one thing I love about PowerShell. It makes it very it's a very useful tool if you want to examine certain things as well.
Oh yeah. Um, I will say, like, so, you know, you're right about like looking at logs through PowerShell versus looking through the GUI. The GUI is not fast. The GUI is slow. And then when you have logs that have thousands and thousands of entries, it takes a very long time for it to populate. Um, so yeah, using PowerShell is much faster. With that said, I wish I still had a copy of it. I did actually, like years ago, write something in PowerShell to bring up the logs, and it was much faster than the the event viewer. Um,
That's interesting. I would like to see
yeah,
that.
I stopped using. Well, when I came to DRW, I didn't bring my code from my old company.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense,
so,
right?
is there? I mean, one, there's a moral aspect to that, right? You don't want to be doing you don't want to be stealing code from your company, but also um, you don't want to um, you don't want to be seen as that guy, right? Like the one you can't that a company can't trust. Um, but this is code that if I felt I needed it, I could have rewritten it. I'm not in a position now where I need it, but could I rewrite it? Absolutely. Um, Now I'm saying this, and I wanted to say my favorite tool um, over the years that I use is this now owned by Sapien PowerShell Studio. It's been owned by Sapien for I don't know how long now, but I've used it for a very long time. Um, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I mentioned, like, I for the listeners here, I used to lead the desktop support team here at DRW. I'm saying here at DRW. This podcast has nothing to do with any company, but we worked. Antoine and I worked together. Um, but I led the team for a long time, and um, one of the things about I had come from a Windows Server administration role to be part of the team when I came to DRW. So my old company, I was a server admin and came to DRW, joined the desktop team to bring in some automation and some change and everything. Um, so I wrote tons of tools for the team, but I, one of the things that I ran into was a lot of members of the team had no experience with PowerShell, did not have, did not want to invest the time. I'm going to say it like this: did not feel that that investment would pay off to learn how to script and to learn some of these other tools. So I would make tools, um, and members of the team just were not eager to open up a PowerShell console and type in the commands that were needed, right? Um, you'd have to fill in a form, right? And if it's on a command line, they didn't want to do it. So they jumped off to doing it the old way, manually. Let's say modify user data, right? They'd go into Active Directory and modify the item directly. So I was quick to come over to, I was quick to utilize the features of PowerShell Studio that were now PowerShell Studio, wonderful IDE, has lots of features. Uh, I'm not going to go over all of them now. One of the things I wanted to go over, though, is the thing that really made this extremely valuable to me and to the desktop team. I think it's even still well used well after I've left the team. Um, but let's say you're writing a script, right? This one seems pretty simple. We're not going to go through any of the code here. Notify user GUI, pretty straightforward. This was written to notify users logged on to machines throughout the company, and we target a group of machines. I'd use this to target those machines. It hooks into configuration manager to get the list of machines. Then it goes and connects to each machine. It does a couple of things, but uh, it, it does more than notify users. But one of the things it does do is logs into the machine. It gets who's logged in, who's actively logged in, um, and and extracts and we're able to get their email address, send them an email and say, hey, this computer you're on, this is going to happen, right? Windows updates, um, an OS upgrade, et cetera, et cetera. It was used to notify those people. And when you have hundreds, thousands of people you've got to notify at the same time, and you're not sure who's logged on to machines because sometimes they're named generically, sometimes they've got a name on, but they're not the people that are actually working at the company anymore. There's lots of reasons for this. This solved 95%. It's 95% good, right? That 5%, you'll never get that 5%. Um, Anyways, so the thing I like about it is we have a designer field, right? So we'll go to designer. Why is nothing popping up? All right. Well, screw you, right? Um, anyways, it has a
That went left real fast.
yeah, it did. It did, didn't it? I forgot that I didn't put a design on this one. So let's open up one um that actually does have a design associated with it. Um, this is what happens when you're trying to do double duty. Um, oh, this one definitely has um
So I
this one.
assume you're gonna get to this point at some point, but so when you're designing, so I imagine you're designing a GUI for PowerShell scripts,
That's right. That's
and
right.
so this GUI, is it what kind of forms is it? Is it the old Windows forms? Is it
Yeah, it
uh,
utilizes old Windows forms, and uh, I fine. I'm failing at this right now because that one didn't pop up a GUI either. This one doesn't really have a GUI. All right, but what it'll do is if we do designer, let's see if we can come up with a design tool here. Where's that's the file browser. All right, let's.
one of the
If I can't laugh about like I screwed this up. It's our first video. It's our first one. All right, so we're gonna. All right. Suffice it to say, I thought I was gonna throw this up quick, but you write your script. Let's say you're bringing in a bunch of input. It gives you a GUI, right? That GUI goes a long way into making life a much better place. Now, um, so you get this form for and in my for me it was I got all these people working under me. They want to be quick. They want to be efficient. They want to get things done. Okay, let's get the GUI. They can copy paste into that. They can view things instead of saying like, let me put the username in, hit enter. Oops, I typoed the username. Well, it's already on the go. It's too late now. We're committed, right? I didn't want that, right? I wanted something that was easy for them to do. And so it gives a Windows form. It's not pretty. Um, I'm actually going to pull up something that has some of the stuff here. Let's see. Um, but it brings it, but you get this GUI, you get this form, you you can line things up nicely. Anybody who's tried to create the forms by hand understand like it's hard to line things up and then people will expand and shrink those forms to adjust to their needs. This lets you kind of see how it looks. The other part to this that I was extremely important to me was the ability build um, to build exes. Now these exes aren't compiled exes. What they are is wrappers um, for the PowerShell script to run within. But at least a couple of years ago, getting a PowerShell script to run properly in something like SCCM was kind of a pain in the ass. Um, and also, again, back to my earlier argument about some members of the team struggled with the, you know, doing scripting. And many of you professionals understand like first level support teams. A lot of people have no idea what a PowerShell script is. That's no offense to them. They're early on in their careers. A lot of them will learn and become great scripters. Some of them may never do it. That's not to pick on anybody. That's just the nature of the beast, right? It depends on the environment they're in. It depends on what their goals are and their motivations are. so be it.
Absolutely. I've told a few people myself. I'm like, PowerShell is awesome. It is a
Yeah.
very useful thing to learn, but you don't have to learn it in order
No.
to, succeed in the IT field. But it
Yeah.
is very useful for you if you do decide to take that on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, the other part to this was the package. So we can do build and do settings. So like, I'm just going to jump into settings, right? Because build's another part of this. In settings, we have the different versions of PowerShell. Now, I'm gonna say this, right? Like, all right. So PowerShell deprecated, obviously not being used. That's for PowerShell Core or PowerShell 6, however you want to refer to it. That's what that's for. I never used that feature. I've tried using PowerShell 7.1, but I've run into issues when I built with that. So I currently still use, for the most part, Windows PowerShell. Most of the EXEs I'm running are on Windows anyways, so um, that's fine. Uh, but you can see the various options here, right? Um, PowerShell Core Command, it'll actually bring up the blue screen to spit out stuff. Um, the same with PowerShell Command Line. Command line, silent hides everything. Um, that is wonderful if you've got tools that you run on machines locally. If you're an administrator, you run these things locally, and you don't want anything popping up. That is absolutely perfect, right? Like a data collection tool. Um, Windows application. This is either of these two will get you an interactive window that you can work with. But uh, for most of my things, I've used where I need an interaction. I use the Windows form. Windows Service, I've never actually used, but it lets you set up the service type. It gives you all the tools that make a service work nicely. Tray app, Windows, and a host dark mode Windows application. I have not used that yet. Um, the issue I've had with PowerShell 7, and we can see a lot of the same features here. The issue I've had that is a lot of libraries seem to be missing, and so it's not running well for me. It doesn't run, complains about things missing, so I don't know what's going on. I haven't spent enough time to work that out. Um, you get to go to output settings. You get to give it the file name. You get to generate config files, etc. This folder here is where it spits out the exe. If you need alternate credentials, you can put that stuff in here, or you can run as current user, impersonate user, run as user. Um, you can set up a manifest. I haven't written anything that requires a manifest, or I make use of it. Signing, if you're in a very secure environment, which we are, here's where you'd put in the certificate. Uh, there's multiple places you have to put in. I think there's another place you have to put in the certificate as well, because it still shows up as some kind of generic Sapien certificate if you only put it in this place. If you have any
Mhm.
restrictions, that's here. Version information, copyright information, icon files. You can always have fun with icon files, right? We were just there. Build commands. If you have
Absolutely.
any special build commands, this is where you'll put it. Product details, if you want to put that in here. I mean, a lot of these things are being written for here in the company, so some of these things I leave empty anyways because they don't matter. Files and
So just to stop you, your
yeah.
video, I didn't even
I,
realize
oh
it.
crap! It's already 24 minutes. So, anyways, I thank you for telling me. I just wanted to say this is a useful tool. I'll probably get more in depth in one of our bigger meetings. Um, so maybe next month in February.
Your screen had froze, so it's like still showing just the send mail.
Oh, it did.
So
Oh, it is.
yeah,
Okay.
so I never seen any of the other activities that you were showing. So
Oh, well, yeah. So the people who are listening to this, they'll be fine. The other people who are seeing this are going to complain. I'm sorry. This is our first time. Uh,
Yeah, just listen as well. You don't
yeah,
have to.
just listen. You're those of you look that are listening. You're not missing anything in the view thing because I screwed up. All right, but suffice it to say, you get some nice tools, and if you're trying to build for a broad audience, this is a great tool. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
oh, it
Definitely
opened
use
up
it.
another window. That's why I didn't realize it opened up another window when I was doing this. So I'm sharing the window, and it opened up another window. Anyways,
Ah,
I'm gonna let you talk, Antoine, because I've owned this. You can talk now because
well,
I'm
I
talking too
mean,
much.
no, you're perfectly fine. But the only thing for right now, this we're wrapping up our first podcast episode. For those of you who are tuned in, we appreciate you all coming down. Once again, we're doing this, I guess, out of our own free time, and we're just trying to spread information and help people better understand some of the things about PowerShell for sure. If you need references or anything, I would definitely go to docs.microsoft.com. They have all the documentation for PowerShell that you could use and more. I think another thing that we use to learn as well, YouTube, of course, there's tons of YouTube videos. Also, I would say, what is PowerShell in a Month of Lunches, the
Yeah.
book. That's also a great resource if you looking to get your feet wet. You can start almost anywhere, no matter what level you are. Beginner to advanced. I guarantee you, there's something in the books, on the website that's there that you never knew. And it's always best to keep learning, keep improving, and making it better. So, especially if you have to leave a place, the next person that comes in doesn't have to guess, what you were trying to do, and
How
it makes it easier to maintain code for sure.
how did you learn PowerShell? Was it through the 30 days of lunches?
No, so but that did help better my understanding. When I was learning, we had a need for. I thought we had a need for a scripter, but nobody else did. So at first, I was learning VB script, and then I was scouring the internet and going across the Microsoft sites, and I kept hearing about PowerShell and C Sharp, and eventually I just decided, let me take a look and read up on PowerShell, and I did a lot of tutorials through the Microsoft website. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. At one point, I had access to Pluralsight, and I was watching a lot of their study material. In addition to that, and then just practicing. And like by the time I got to the company I'm at now, I knew the basics. Like I knew how to I knew how to formulate a command and to try to get some information or to try to install software via PowerShell. And then, just how basic commands are constructed, how to go and find certain commands based on certain words, getting computer information, and then how it'll filter through that computer information. And then by the time I got to our current company, I started learning how to create advanced functions and logging and doing pester tests and PowerShell is definitely a hole you can fall down and for probably almost the rest of your life, and then they keep coming out with new stuff as well. So I'm definitely excited about the future and always learning more when it comes to PowerShell because it's made my life easier in a lot of different ways.
Cool. I just remember you had some experience when I hired you, um,
Yes.
but I don't think I ever asked in detail, or maybe I did and I just forgot. But now we're here being humans and talking about this stuff. I mean, uh, I will say, like it's nice to help people learn about this stuff and get resources because when I learned from a crazy person. Um, well, I learned from two people. One was absolutely nuts, but absolutely genius. The other one was a great and wonderful person, and I still keep in touch with both of them. one of them got me into cycling. Um, the other one managed me for a while, for a few years. Um, and they were both wonderful people. But there was nothing formal, so it was like, hey, here's this script, can you fix it, right? And I think we at first I knew some VB script, and then I learned Python because I was PowerShell wasn't quite there yet, and we needed data, we needed to be able to do things, and Python had the tools to do it. And eventually, what happened was hey, let's convert this inventory script from Python to PowerShell, and so I took that on and built some other things on top of that, and here I am now, right? Like there was no formal learning. It's like, here, you're just gonna do this, right? And um, yeah, and I think I made a point to the people who um, here at DRW, I made a point to like teach people um, because I wrote so many things. I didn't want those to go to waste because I think prior to me, people would write scripts and then they'd linger and die, and and they were forgotten. And so because the knowledge didn't transfer, it didn't pass on. And I think teaching people also made me stronger. Um,
Absolutely.
because
Let me.
oh no, go
Go.
ahead.
I just wanted to share one story before you wrap it up. My previous job, it was a school district, and like every place where you're doing, software distribution, updates, and everything, you got to make sure the software is installed. So we've got, these massive. I think there were like 20 schools in the district. So you got everything from kindergartners to high schoolers, and you've got like these huge high schools and huge elementary schools, and we had carts of Windows laptops, and we're trying to make sure software that these kids need for testing is installed. Now imagine SCCM is not working, and you need to get every every one of these computers had the software installed. And at the time, I did not know anything about scripting. So I'm literally having to copy the file over to the computer, double click the file, run it as administrator, put in my credentials. And like I'm doing this over and over and over. And eventually, this is what is like kind of drives me to like, okay, I need to learn how to script because I can't live my life like this at all, you know?
So for people, I, you know, yeah, I remember that can be a story for another day when I was making fun of the SCCM admin you had over there. You hadn't even told me much, and I go, you're the kind of person that does installers through the programs section instead of through the application installation tools, and you were like, yeah, I'm like, um,
He was a good guy, though. Don't
he,
get me
he, he
wrong.
I'm not saying he's not a good guy, right? But I mean, he reminds me of so many people who, you know, who I'll say struggled with SCCM. It's a tough thing to get to know and to master. Um, and a lot of people get frustrated, drop off, go to other tools, Ansible, Chef, etc. All those platforms are great, right? I'm not going to badmouth them, but it takes a lot. There's like this initial thing like, oh, I can get this done in SCCM. And then some people kind of don't dig deeper beyond that. So I just remember like mocking that person because of that. But at the same time, I understand. It's like there's a lot to pick up there. I was in it for a long
Absolutely.
time.
SCCM can definitely be very daunting in the beginning, for sure, because there's a lot of different things you can do.
It's daunting even after you've been doing it for a decade or so.
True story. That's definitely a true story.
I, you know, like no matter how much you know, it's still like it still kind of hits. It still kind of kicks you in the butt.
It's always something new with
it is.
SECM for sure.
Yeah, and at least they keep evolving the platform, right? And they keep making it more and more useful as time goes on.
It's definitely very versatile now, especially with the integration with Azure and Intune. So, I'm definitely excited about getting my fingers into those modules as well. But, we'll save
Yeah.
that for another podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, Anton, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Goodbye, people. Remember,
All
we're
right.
doing this for free. It's, if you're not excited, fine. So, but hey,
Well,
we're gonna keep
that's not
feeding
to
you
say.
stuff.
That's not to say donations are accepted for sure.
Yeah, we're
So,
all the costs associated with all of this are coming out of our own pockets. All right. Um, but we hope you enjoy. We hope you come back for next time. Later.
all right. Later.